Dear listeners, welcome back to another episode of PhD PDF Scholarship Podcast. Today, we are delving deep into the PhD research in Taiwan and its subsequent research avenues in India. Joining us is Dr. Kalpana Shankwar from IIIT Delhi, an expert with deep insights into both these academic terrains. As we discuss this engaging topic, her guidance will be of invaluable for research aspirants. So before we start, let's hear a few words from Dr. Kalpana Shankwar. So Dr. Kalpana, how are you? And how are you feeling today?
Hi, Nirmal. I'm very good today, and I'm feeling really great about this podcast. I was actually excited about this because I really feel this is a very nice initiative for upcoming researchers who are looking for their further career opportunities, even after PhD or before PhD. So it's very nice initiative. I really appreciate this, and I'm very thankful to be part of this podcast session.
That is great to know as well. Like, thank you for your time, and it's our privilege to host you as our podcast guest. So, if you could just give a short insight about our short intro about yourself, like your background, then that would be a perfect start before we get into the discussion as well.
Yeah, sure. So actually, currently I am working as an assistant professor in IIIT Delhi in Human Centered Design Department. Actually, I have just completed 1.5 months in this university. So I just joined in July in this department, and before that, I did my PhD from National Taiwan University in October 2022 in Mechanical Engineering Department. Yeah,
Okay.
So this is my first job after my PhD.
Okay. So when you mentioned about Taiwan, like, could you share your experience of pursuing PhD in Taiwan, and what were the key factors that attracted you to do research in Taiwan as such? And maybe a glimpse of your research that you have conducted will also make it more helpful for researchers to understand what are the areas and what specifically they can look for as well in Taiwan.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I was working as an assistant professor at Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology after my master's. So during that time, I was planning to pursue PhD. So I was continuously applying, and my main motive was to stay somewhere close to India. I did not want to go to any other Western countries; those are very far from India. So I just was focusing on applying PhD in Asian countries. So I found that National Taiwan University was holding a very good QS ranking, which is about 70, under 70 currently. So that was the most attractive part, because initially I was mostly focusing on QS ranking and also the universities which are located in Asia. So that was one of the reasons why I chose Taiwan. And another thing, I also had heard about Taiwan and its research from some of my seniors, and also from our previous director of IIT Guwahati, Gautam Vishwas, who had visited National Taiwan University earlier. So he had also given some insight about research in Taiwan. So I had some idea about what are the research aspects, perspectives in Taiwan. So yeah, that's how I chose Taiwan for my PhD, mainly actually NTU. Yeah, and in my PhD, I mainly developed an artificial welding training system using haptic technology and extended reality technologies. So that was for helping students and also the welders, new welders, to learn how to do the welding in a safe environment.
Can I interrupt you? Like, maybe if you could give a glimpse about what is this technology? Like, you mentioned a word like haptic technology. So if it can be,
Haptic technology is basically related to extended reality, because this is like assistive technology for extended reality. Extended reality is the combination of virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. So these all three terms are combinedly called as extended reality. So you might have definitely, most of people know about virtual reality and augmented reality, that this is mostly famous because of gaming and entertainment purposes. But people are mostly limited to gaming and entertainment, but there are much more vast applications of these technologies. So these technologies I employed in my research, so that you can actually provide a 3D simulation of any process which you want to provide some guidance or some training. So there are many applications in different areas. For example, healthcare, medical, and manufacturing, and education, guidance. So there are many applications, and people are still working on it, how to apply these technologies in different applications. So yeah, one of which was manufacturing and training purpose. So in my research, I employed it to develop a welding training system that was mainly focusing on training, also education, because by considering the students of bachelors of engineering who mostly perform the welding task in their first year, all the disciplines have to learn welding in their first year. So there are different factors which can affect the students while performing the welding task. Like it is very unsafe, involving very intense heat, and also like it causes wastage of material and electricity to continuously perform the task. So just to address these challenges, I developed this system. So not just training, it also provides a virtual teaching room. So people can learn welding by doing hands-on practice and like visualizing the content of welding science and technology in a 3D environment. So they can see, because the processes and the content, whatever content is involved in welding education, that can be visualized very well in a VR or AR environment. Because whenever you learn something by doing, it's better to retain those knowledge. So yeah, that was the motive. And also apart from education and training, I also employed this XR technology for designers' perspective, like the research and development engineers who are like performing finite element simulations to visualize the effect of input parameters in welding process and see the residual stresses and temperature distribution and deformation in the weld plate. So just to enhance that visualization and receive the results immediately instead of spending 15-16 minutes or maybe 1 hour on a finite element simulation, I employed this mixed reality technology and helped the user to visualize those results in 3D environment. Yeah, so I also employed machine learning technique and mixed reality. So these projects in my research.
So that means you are well prepared for the future technologies or for the future. The next 10 years, like you are well prepared with the technologies to deal with the current issues. That's good to know. And just one as a follow-up thing to that, like how far is the industrial contribution in Taiwan? Like when you see like industrial collaboration for this research, or is it pure academic oriented, or like how is the source of funding coming there? Is it through fellowship? Is it through industrial collaboration, or is it like university they voluntarily takes up some research areas, then they move ahead?
Yeah, actually in Taiwan, I have seen it's both, like industry oriented also, and the funding is also coming from the Taiwan government, like MOST funding. But yeah, lots of professors are also making collaborations with industries in Taiwan. Even in my own research lab, my professor had lots of industrial collaborations, including TSMC, Microsoft, China Steel, and yeah, some more other industries. So in our lab, the funding was being received from the industries also, and we used to get some research targets from the industries. which have to be provided on a given timeline to those industries. I had also demonstrated my project to multiple industries. So yeah, there are lots of industrial collaborations in my university and also other universities as well. I had seen. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And of course, Arnab, the floor is yours. You can ask the question.
Yeah, so to begin with, Dr. Kalpana was our senior from MTech in IIT Guwahati, and same is applicable to our host, Dr. Nirmal. And not just that, she was my colleague because I also started my journey after my MTech in KIIT Bhubaneswar as an assistant professor. So I think nearly 1 year interaction what I had with Dr. Kalpana, that is something what I still cherish right now. Lot of intellectual discussions about research and other thing. At that time, she was extremely passionate about what she wanted to do in her life. So it's really great that you completed whatever you want to do and you came back to India. That's a great fit for all of us. So just asking the queries means I think what everybody would be having if you are seeing that podcast. That is, for an example, if you can say, like, if we know that Taiwan invest quite an amount of GDP in their R&D and also in semiconductor manufacturing and all that, we know that Taiwan is a very important country, right? So how do you feel that which are the latest research area for R&D where people can go for research for PhD? So which are the areas which will be very effective if you can throw some light on that?
Yeah, as we all know, Taiwan is a very like Taiwan is focusing on the research in semiconductors. It is very popular for semiconductors and manufacturing the computer chips, mostly by TSMC and also ASML. These are some of the leading companies in Taiwan. So especially people who belong to electronics department, electronics and telecommunication, it's a great country to pursue PhD, even masters in Taiwan. But also, I would say Taiwan is not just focusing on core research areas. It is performing interdisciplinary research. As I was in mechanical engineering, but I just noticed and observed that in my entire department, all the professors were doing interdisciplinary research. There was not completely hardcore mechanical engineering based research. So like people are involving computer science, electronics in their research. Like in my lab, we were focusing on applying emerging technologies like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, extended reality, haptic technology. And also in other labs, people were working on the semiconductors, like integrating those kind of research in mechanical engineering and robotics and artificial intelligence. So these kind of research areas are vastly considered in Taiwan for research. So yeah.
And all of these research are having good funding from the industry and
Yeah,
all
from
that.
the industry as well as from the government also.
Okay, and coming to, I would say that to add that, see, all of us studied in IIT Guwahati. So compared to whatever the research we have seen in our institutes and whatever you have seen abroad, if you can point out what are the basic differences in approach, or is it the same when it comes to research? What were your experience? If we have to make it brief and effective to our listeners.
Yeah, actually in Taiwan, I just felt that the research is very effective because whatever equipment or devices we need, we can get it immediately. Yeah, it does not take any more time. Like we don't have to wait for a very long time to receive an equipment, because I just noticed during my masters, like PhD students used to complain about that the equipment are not delivered on time and they have to wait for it to perform the experiments. So this was a very nice experience in Taiwan because I never had to wait for anything. I was immediately provided the equipments or the lab facilities. The research resources are very good in Taiwan, and professors, I found they were very flexible and they provide a freedom to choose whatever research topic you want to pursue in our research, because I had given complete freedom by my PhD supervisor. Initially, I did some literature survey and then found out my own research interest. And then I decided the research objective for my PhD. And yeah, whatever new kind of idea I used to propose to my professor, I always received a very good and positive response from her that, yeah, you can go ahead with it. She used to give her insights, but I was never rejected to my ideas. So it's like a very good flexible environment in Taiwan. And also like working environment is also very good. Like in my lab, professor had told all the students to help each other whenever we need. It's not that we have to be concerned that they will be asking the authorship in our research or something like that. That was just a kind of culture in my lab that we can help each other. Whatever kind of problem or challenges we are facing in our research, we can discuss each other, and we used to help each other a lot instead of expecting anything in return. And also the working hours, professor used to say that we should be in the lab from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. That was the official hour, but it's just for saying, but I was actually given freedom to do the research at any time in my lab. In my case, I used to work in the night because I feel that was like very nice time for research so that I can concentrate on it. There is no other kind of disturbances. So that was the flexibility of working hour provided by my supervisor. I was not like interrogated a lot that why you were not available in the lab. Only your research work is important. If you are providing the results on time, because there used to be weekly meetings every week, strictly. Like there is no cancellation of meetings in just maybe some very specific situations. But yeah, every week we have to report to our supervisor, giving a presentation of our research. Every day task we share in the research meeting, that whatever we have been doing. So yeah, there is a continuous guidance provided by the supervisor. Although my supervisor was quite strict, but it was very nice actually. Now I actually appreciate that. Because of that kind of supervisor, I actually could finish my objectives and tasks on time. So yeah, actually this kind of freedom and flexibility is very nice for a researcher. Your ideas should be appreciated by your supervisor, and all kind of research facilities were great in my lab. Also, I heard from other PhD students from other labs in Taiwan, they also had similar kind of experience. So in these aspects, it was very nice country to pursue PhD.
So it shows how progressive the lab culture is, or the research culture is, having focus more on the problem or more on teamwork rather than more like individual getting more attention, obsession with the paper being published. So I want to touch upon one part, like every institute or university will have some sort of eligibility criteria, in the sense like, yeah, if you're doing PhD, this is the minimum tenure, this is the number of number of publications maybe you want, or maybe the research output they may like value. So if you look at your PhD experience and in general in Taiwan, like what they basically look for. And one more thing, like was the language, it's everything, was it in English, or is it like a mix of like Taiwanese and how about the IELTS score you need to have for going to Taiwan. So if you could touch upon that part, starting from the application in terms of like the admissions procedure, basically the IELTS score, and then the eligibility criteria that basically the Taiwanese university seeks for.
Yeah, actually, in the PhD application, IELTS score is important in some of the department, or in some other departments, it is not that much mandatory. But actually, during my time when I took admission in NTU, it wasn't mandatory, but I also provided my IELTS score. But these days, it is mandatory in all the departments. So that has to be more than 6.5 on an average. And other aspects are mainly your research outcomes. Like if you have good research publications, there are good chances of getting scholarship, because sometimes people may get admission in NTU, but the scholarship will not be very good, because there are different type of scholarships provided by the university, but that is all based on your resume, like how many research publications you have, what is your overall academic score. That is also important during your bachelor's, master's. And if you have also some industrial or work experience, so that is also counted during your applications evaluation. So yeah, and after you get the admission in NTU, the main thing which is expected from a PhD student, that you have to publish at least 2 SCI journal papers at the end of your PhD. That is mandatory, but sometimes it's not necessary. Professors create their own criteria that maybe you need to publish 3 or 4 papers, but at the level of university standard, they expect you to publish 2 SCI journals. And also we have to clear the comprehensive exam. That is actually called as a qualifying exam in Taiwan. So that is based on particular courses. Like there will be 3 to 5 major courses. You have to clear the qualifying exam for those particular courses based on which specialization you are doing your research. Suppose I was in mechanical design, then I was supposed to clear the qualifying exams for engineering optimizations, advanced kinematics of machines, dynamics of machines. So these were the main courses. So in other departments, it just varies, but clearing the qualifying exam is mandatory to be an official PhD candidate. But actually, there are only 2 attempts which are given to the students. If they cannot clear it in 2 attempts, they cannot pursue PhD in NTU. So that was the criteria. And I think this kind of criteria is also there in other universities also, but the difficulty level is different. In NTU, it was quite difficult also. People get stuck in their qualifying exam.
Okay, and what was the typical duration of a PhD they expect, and what is the type of scholarship, like among the scholarship that you will get? Is it worth enough to leave there for a single person, or is it like basic things related to that, because it will be helpful for researchers who are looking to pursue PhD from Taiwan?
Yeah, actually, there are various types of scholarship that you are going to get just based on your profile. But if you get the best one, then it is very good. And you will probably get it for 3 years. Like there are different type of scholarships. Some are like provided by MOE scholarship. That one is for 4 years. The one which I received, but was outstanding scholarship, that was for 3 years. So these are type of scholarships, but it's not something to be worried about. There are other opportunities to apply for scholarships while pursuing PhD, because I also applied for other like scholarships. Those are mainly known as awards. So I also received 2 more awards by applying after even while receiving the scholarship from the university, I also applied the other research scholarships. So that is another opportunity for the students that they can also apply. And students also receive some lab salary from their supervisors. So that depends on what kind of funding the supervisor has. Even I have seen many students who did not have any single scholarship from the university, but they were actually receiving a very good amount of lab salary from their supervisor, which was sufficient enough, that was sufficient for them to continue their PhD in Taiwan. But that has some kind of downsides as well. If you are completely dependent on lab salary, you will be highly controlled by your supervisor. Sometimes, not always. So it's good to have your own scholarship, your funding resource. That will be good for you, because otherwise you may have to work a lot, or you have to agree on everything your supervisor asks you to do. Yeah, but usually in NTU it takes at least 5 years to complete a PhD. But yeah, I have seen people have spent 6 years or 7 years also on their PhD. So sometimes it all depends on professors or students or the research topic. Sometimes people are unlucky, their papers are not being published, so they are still spending time in Taiwan. Like some of my seniors are doing PhD. And but usually I would say most of the people finish PhD in 5 years in NTU. Sometimes it's 4 years also, 4.5 years. Mainly in engineering department, this is just on an average 5 years is needed for a PhD.
Yes, Arnab.
Yeah, so just I would ask certain things. For an example, when you apply to PhD over here in India in IITs or ISC, you apply, and if you get through in the regular category, you are given one MHRD scholarship, and then there are new schemes like PMRF and all are introduced. So is it like the same, like before going to Taiwan when you were thinking for fund? Is it like during the admission procedure itself, they told you that this is the scholarship you will receive, or they just give you one admission confirmation letter and award you apply once you get into there? So how does this entire thing work for you?
Actually, it's all about during your application, PhD application. During the application, you will be given some options. Whatever the current scholarships are available at the level of university, you can apply for those scholarships. You can tick mark, and based on the evaluation of your application, they will provide you the scholarship at the very beginning. And during the announcement of the acceptance of your application, you will get to know if you have if you have been allotted any scholarship or not. But even as I told that some students can still get admission without getting any scholarship, and if they approach some of the supervisors, they can receive some lab salary from their supervisors.
Okay, so how much competitive this scholarship is in getting?
Actually, it is competitive because actually the competition is changing continuously. Because the time when I applied, it was 2017. Not much people were interested in research, or they were not maybe very much aware of pursuing PhD in Taiwan. They were not very much aware of what is the research culture in Taiwan. So the time has changed, the scenario has changed a lot. Nowadays, multiple number of students are applying for PhD in Taiwan. So the competition is quite high. Every single year it's increasing. But yeah, I think if the profile is good, then definitely there are very good chances, especially if you have good research publications, definitely you have very good chance of getting a good scholarship. So actually getting the scholarship at the very beginning, like during the admission, it's not necessary that you are going to get. because people can still get from the supervisor, and they still get opportunities to apply for other scholarships during their PhD.
Okay, for those scholarships, the supervisors also recommended.
Yeah, definitely. Supervisor always help you out to apply for other kind of scholarships, and also university also helps the students. They keeps on sending emails to the students. They continuously notify the students that this is the scholarship, you can apply for it, this is the deadline. Every year there will be CTCI scholarship, Rotary, Chungwa Rotary scholarship. They will notify the students, and yeah, that's how people can apply for it. And also different types of scholarships are mentioned on the university website, so people can see when they can apply, the deadlines. Yes, scholarships are also notified by the department, by the university, and also by the supervisor.
And coming to, you were mentioning about the coursework requirement, what you have to comply with before starting your PhD work. So during that time, what type of tuition fees is being charged, or is it being waived off if you are getting the scholarship? How does it work?
Actually, tuition fees is waived off from your scholarship. If you are getting a scholarship, they will deduct it from your scholarship. But tuition fees is quite high. Actually, it's about 60,000 new Taiwanese dollar for one semester. That is approximately, I would say, 1.5 lakhs INR for one semester. So those are actually deducted from the tuition fees from the scholarship. And if you are getting the salary from the supervisor, then you have to pay it by yourself. Yeah, that is the case.
Okay. Over to you, Nirmal.
So being there in Taiwan, and like you mentioned about the initial phase of the application, and then you touched upon the progressive culture of the lab. Now like looking a bit more deep into the Taiwanese research culture, because you went from a country like much more diverse country to of course it's an Asian country, but moving to Taiwan, like what are some of the striking features or culture that you find it? Yeah, I think it is worth enough to adopt these cultures, or we should take back this sort of things, at least the research cultures, back to India, and we have to implement it here. So in that way, what is some of the professional cultures or the research cultures that, as well as like what is the general culture like that you feel it more appealing, or what are the distinguishing stuff like you could see it when you go from an Indian scenario?
Yeah, actually, like in general, I would say, considering Taiwan, it's very nice country. Like people are very nice in Taiwan. They are very friendly and helpful. They are highly polite and humble towards others. So, and like you would not be, I would say, you will not be cheated, or dishonesty you would not face much in Taiwan. And it's highly safe country for everyone, and there is complete freedom in the country. Commute is very good in Taiwan, and it's not that large country, so it's very easy to travel. So these are just general aspects, and these general aspects actually affect your research as well, because you are not being affected due to other aspects. Like, for example, freedom. I, as a girl, like in India, you cannot go to your lab. If you are living outside your campus, you cannot go to your lab at 4 a.m. or come back from the lab at 2 a.m. So that kind of freedom was there. I did not have to think about what time I'm leaving, what time I'm going. So that is a very nice flexibility and freedom in Taiwan. And in other aspects, I would say that on research perspective, like this kind of practice can be adopted, that the lab culture, the kind of lab culture I saw in my lab, that people should help each other. There is not any kind of politics involved. Like, people simply help each other whenever you need some help. It's not that you will be asked to give us authorship in your research paper. This is like, people are always ready to help each other. It's just exchange of help. And the research meetings, I'm not very sure, because during my master's I did not see that we are having continuous research meetings in a group or even individually. It's not like very regular practice, so that can be adopted. Like, there should be continuous research meetings with the supervisors, especially in a group. So actually you get some guidance, even if your supervisor is guiding other students or giving some advice related to research. You also get some of your answers from other people's guidance. So group meeting is actually very good, which I found that it's actually necessary in India also. And like, availability of equipments, that is very important. Actually, we have to wait a lot. Sometimes our research gets stuck at one point just because of waiting for equipment. And the kind of freedom we receive from our supervisor, there should be some more friendly behavior between student and the supervisor, that whatever idea we are giving, that should be appreciated from the supervisor. And also, one more thing I noticed, that supervisors are very swift in Taiwan. Like, if you're writing a research paper, you will get very quick response from the supervisor. Like, you are revising a manuscript, so you don't have to wait for like years just to submit those papers in a journal. So yeah, in that aspect, it was very good. And yeah,
when you look at the uncertainty part, see, of course, most of the research will have a certain duration of like uncertainty, like maybe from the student side, like they don't know what way we have to navigate. Even the professors, or say for example, the corona itself is a best example. Like, it was during the time of corona, like everything was uncertain, and like, of course, so now how is the pressure? Is it like the pressure coming from top to bottom, or is it from the top to bottom, like bottom to top? Top to bottom means, like, is it the professor start getting frustration, and they try to impose that frustrations on the students in the way, like, yeah, they expect more, or like they are so strong with their own ideologies that even the student proposes something very new stuff, like, this is uncertain, we don't know anything about this. So if you are coming up with a new idea, how is the willingness of the professors in adapting to or trying to understand what you're trying to convey? And at the same time, how do they deal with the sort of uncertainties? Because why I'm asking, because one of our episode was with a researcher from Japan. So Japan, their sort of culture is absolutely, it's a backup culture. They have 1, 2, 3. Like, they know if A didn't work, yeah, they have a backup plan B, C. Even for the PhD, they have that sort of plans. So they think forward the uncertainties and plan stuffs accordingly. But that was the culture that they could get it from their supervisors, because the supervisor mentioned that, yeah, if this doesn't work, like, what are your ideas? So in that context, like, did you see any sort of points that you want to share as well?
actually, in Taiwan, especially in my case, I would simply give the example of my own experience. Like, the ideas which we give to the professors, sometimes it is not feasible. So simply they just guide you that they also give some insights, and they also help us by providing some more research content through the research papers, also through some videos. So like in my case, some of the ideas I was proposing, and she was actually happily accepting the ideas, but to make it more impactful, she also added some of her insights. So like it is both way discussion. Like it was the contribution from both sides regarding setting the idea for research, setting the objective. So that's how the research objective is decided. The professors also get involved, and they actually happily accept the ideas, what I noticed. But if there is a case that student is not at all able to find out or figure out what the student has to do in the PhD, the professors also help a lot. Like some other students, I noticed that professor was also providing some ideas. Sometimes the research objectives are given by the industries, like there are some industrial projects. Then the objective is already predefined. Then simply they give the idea to the student that you have to start working on it. But especially in my lab, I just found that my professor never liked to provide the entire idea, because that is also a part of research, that you have to find out the problem first. Because finding out the problem itself is a big problem. That what you have to do, finding it is very hard. That's how you become an independent and individual researcher. In future, if you are becoming a professor, you have to find a problem. So that kind of training is provided during the PhD itself. Definitely, you have to find out. Ultimately, if you are unable to find out a very good feasible idea, then professor will help you out. But you have to spend at least 6 months to find an idea. Yeah. But I noticed in some other universities in Taiwan, the professors used to give the research objective right at the beginning of PhD. I know some students started working right from the first year. Yeah, and they actually finished PhD in 3 or 4 years, because they don't have to spend more time on reading literatures and figure out the research objective. But I think it is important, and it's good experience. It's a very good learning actually. Even I'm implementing this here in IIIT. Like I'm currently having 14 students, but those are all undergrad students for 1 year or 6 months. So yeah, actually, if I'm giving them freedom to propose me ideas, so I'm getting different kind of ideas from students, different perspectives from, even because here it is interdisciplinary. So I'm having students from computer science, electronics, and design, mathematics, all the departments. So yeah, it's always good to give freedom to the students. That's how they actually figure it out, what is good for them, in which area they are interested in. So it's a good practice actually. You can get very nice ideas for research, because we have our own thinking, that we are thinking in a one direction based on our own experience. But if you give this freedom to students, you may get multiple perspectives, very good research ideas. Yeah.
Over to you, Arnab.
Yeah, like one thing was going in our mind, like I think Nirmal might be aware. For an example, if you go to Germany, so even for the PhD scholars in engineering and science, there is compulsion in many places that you have to know German basics at least. And the thesis what you are submitting along with English, one German version is also have to be given. So is there anything like in Taiwan that you have to know the language, and the thesis, one of the copies what you have to finally submit, it has to be in their language? So anything was like that?
Actually, in Taiwan, most of the PhD supervisors want their PhD students to learn Chinese.
Oh,
But
that's a
it's
great input, I would say.
I would say that they actually appreciate it, and they also ask you multiple times that you need to learn Chinese. Most of the supervisors I heard, some are quite rigid about it that you must learn Chinese, but it's not necessary that you must learn it.
So did you learn?
It's up to you. Actually, I tried to learn, but you know, PhD, how PhD is, how much pressure is involved in PhD. So you may not get enough time to learn Chinese, because to learn Chinese or any other language, you should get enough time to hang out with the local people, and then only you can learn any different language. But in PhD, we are like pursuing a lone journey. You are like completely independent, and this is like individual research. You have to do all alone. So you may
No,
not get
academically, whether there was any requirement that academically.
academically, there is no requirement to learn
Okay.
local language, and even in the thesis submission, you have to translate your abstract from English to Chinese. Rest of the thesis can be in Chinese. In English.
English.
Yeah, just so that translation, I get help. I got help from my lab mates. They helped me to translate from English to Chinese. So there are two different abstract pages in my thesis. One is in Chinese, one is in English. But this is not a very, like, this is not a compulsion in Taiwan to know Chinese to pursue PhD or even masters. But it's
so that will not constrain you.
Yeah, this is not a constraint.
Okay, and second thing is that your living cost means whatever the scholarship or awards what you received, and whatever the living cost in Taiwan. So is it good for a research scholar to sustain nicely? What are your experiences?
Actually, there are multiple aspects about it. One thing is, if you are getting the outstanding scholarship, that one is the best one in Taiwan. Maybe they have changed the name right now, but when I joined, that was outstanding scholarship. So the amount is very good. Like just maybe 30% of that scholarship you have to spend on living. If you get the accommodation inside campus, but also it depends on which kind of dormitory you are living in. One is general dormitory and the other one is the Prince House. So that one was quite expensive, like around one is 7,400 NTD in Prince House, and the general in the general dormitory, that was just 2,000 NTD per month. So there is quite a lot of difference. But in general dormitory, you have to share your room with your roommate. But in Prince House, you don't have to share your room. So and there are much more better facilities in the other dormitory. So it depends on what kind of scholarship you have received. You will be living in that kind of dormitory. Some students also prefer to stay outside the campus, living in an apartment. That is much more comfortable. You won't have much restrictions, because there are some restrictions in dormitories, especially in Prince House. Although you're paying more, but you will have more restrictions, like your visitors cannot stay after 11 p.m. And your friends cannot stay at your room. Like, they cannot do the night stay. That's the case. And other scholarships, sometimes they are just half of outstanding one. Then you may have to consider to stay in general dormitory. So life is not going to be that comfortable. So I think getting a good scholarship to pursue PhD in Taiwan is very necessary. Otherwise, people may get stress of other things. Like financial balance is also very important, because PhD also already itself is a very stressful journey. And if you are not getting good financial stability, then it's gonna be much more difficult. Because also during PhD, you should have freedom to travel the country and also travel abroad during PhD. So I think that is necessary. If you are not getting good scholarship, then at least should be getting good funding from the supervisor. So that is my main suggestion for the students, to ensure to receive a good scholarship. Otherwise, life is going to be a little more challenging.
Yeah, so coming to from a so much serious thing to little light, let us little lighten the mood. So coming to a non-technical part, so how did you miss the country, your hometown, the Tauhar and etc. So
Question. Actually, initially I was very happy in Taiwan. Like at least 1 year, I was actually very excited and exploring Taiwan, different culture, different country, different type of people. But later on, after 1 or 1.5 years, I started missing India like anything. I was feeling homesick, actually India sick. And I was never I was continuously trying to find a chance to visit India as much as possible. So that's why later on I just realized that I definitely have to go back to India. Although that was my always motive to come back to India. I just went to Taiwan to pursue my PhD and then come back to India. I wanted to study abroad, but during my PhD, this kind of thought become more like rigid, that I just wanted to come back to India at any cost because I was missing it a lot. There are so many things to miss about India, and I'm like very social person. So you may also experience, Nirmal, living in abroad. You may not get that people around you,
Yeah.
or that good friends and family, that kind of warmth you receive from your friends and family in abroad. So yeah, it's actually sometimes very sad.
Yeah.
Madam, how is the Indian diaspora over there? Did you meet lot of Indians over there, or is there any Indian colony over there where they celebrate the Indian festivals and all? Or
Actually, yeah, there are huge Indian communities.
oh,
There are very good celebrations of Indian festivals every year, even much better, in a much better way than India itself. Like Diwali, Holi, those festivals I have enjoyed a lot, more than India actually. All the Indians used to gather, like 500 Indians, or on Holi especially, I saw that there were gathering of around 1400 people, 3 to 400 people from India, and rest of them were from Taiwan and even international people. So yeah, but those festivals only are not sufficient. But there are Indian communities too, but those are just limited people. Although there are Indian communities, but it's not that people are meeting each other regularly. There are mostly small groups of people, like 3 or 4 good friends. They become like a family. And yeah, that's how we survive.
yeah. Yeah, so coming back, you told us a very important point, that is while staying, I think, larger time in abroad, that I think once Dr. Nirmal also once shared with me and some of our classmates that okay, initial some years we explored new places and culture, but then we somehow want to get back to our roots, and I think something that happened to you. But I think academically it is also a bit challenging for you might be to come back from Taiwan to India, especially in an academic position. So, what are the challenges you faced, and how to really deal with it? And what would be your advice to people who wants to come from abroad after studying and want a position, especially academic position in India? If you can share your experience.
Yeah, actually, only in my case, I was actually willing to come back to India as soon as possible. because it had been around more than 1.5 years, maybe about 2 years. I did not visit India. So during my PhD, I was just targeting to finish my PhD and go back to India as soon as possible. But I would say I made a little bit mistake that people should do some postdoc. They should secure some postdoc positions either in their own university or in other universities in a country where they are pursuing their PhD. So it becomes easy for you to apply for further positions. Otherwise, coming back to India right after my PhD was not a very good decision, because ultimately I simply started applying for positions in India, and actually we may think that we will be easily getting jobs in India, but job scenario is not that great currently in India, especially in private universities. If I talk about private universities, then these days people are mainly, especially the students, they are choosing computer science or electronics or IT branches for pursuing their bachelor's. So there is very less number of admissions in mechanical or even civil engineering. So that's why the job opportunities is also very less in mechanical and civil engineering, because there are no admissions, no faculty recruitments as well. So private colleges have this kind of limitation. It's not good at all. Finding job in private colleges is much more difficult than actually getting jobs in government colleges. And if we talk about government universities like IITs or NITs or IIITs or any other state universities, then the selection procedure is very long. Like if some of the IITs, you will see the applications is not open. Some applications are rolling advertisement. Some are for urgent basis they are looking for. So it's just your luck that whether you will get the interview call right after your application, maybe after 1 month or maybe after 6 months. It all depends on that. And apart from this, the entire selection procedure is very long. You will be shortlisted first based on your application, then you will receive the interview call. Then after that, you will receive the result for the first round. Then you will be called for the second round. So this is like entire long selection procedure of 4 months to 6 months maybe. So during that time, it's actually very stressful to keep on applying, looking for job opportunities. It also can create a gap in your resume. So it is better to join as a postdoc or maybe start working in an industry, whichever is the most easy to find. And I just think that if you are doing PhD anywhere, it's the best way to find out those positions in the same country where you're doing, because the impact of your research, your university is recognized only in that country the most. So if I was doing PhD in Taiwan, then I should have secured a postdoc position or even any industrial job in Taiwan itself. And then along with my postdoc position, I should have applied for positions in India. But coming back to India and start looking for jobs is not a very good decision. Or if you are actually in mood to take a break, then it's very good. You can simply take a break and keep applying, because you already know that I need some break. But if you're simply looking for jobs and being stressed about it, then I mean it's actually a very challenging journey to find a job. In India, it's not easy at all. Like there is also lots of competition, and selection is all about like destiny, I would say. If this is all about matchmaking, like if you are the right match for the recruiter, the employer, then you will get the job immediately. suppose they are looking for people who are working in this certain area, certain research topic, then there is a very high chance of getting the job. So it's all about that.
Yeah, so just another question also pops up. Yeah, like what you said, that postdoc would have been very beneficial, and we have also heard many cases where people have done two or three postdocs before getting a position. But I would say that your case is also an exceptional case where you got such a nice position without any postdoc experience. So if you can share that your interview experiences in triple IIT, which is not a mechanical engineering department, I don't think they are housing. So you are a mechanical engineer with specialization in VR. So like were your strategies, what were your interview questions, and what are their expectations from a mechanical engineer of that background? If you can share your interview experience.
Yeah, actually, although triple ITs don't have mechanical engineering department, but definitely they always requires people from mechanical engineering department, because this department is human-centered design. So we have also seen some other cases from other institutes that people from mechanical department got secured position in design department, because as a mechanical engineers are actually aware of some kind of design aspects. Actually, I would not say that our machine design is similar to design. This is completely different. Like design is about like daily use products. It deals with all kind of designs, how it looks, how it feels. It's not that it's not necessarily include the engineering aspects. So, but they definitely need people from mechanical engineering department, because this is mostly interdisciplinary research. So just having background from computer science or IT or design is not enough. Like if people are developing some kind of devices, which also includes some mechanical background, then some faculties are actually required holding a mechanical background, because developing a product does not necessarily require only those aspects. Mechanical is also important. So here, since I was also having virtual reality or mixed reality background in my research, so that was like a plus point in my profile, being a mechanical engineer and applying for this position. So mostly during my interview, there were total 3 interview sessions. Total, there were 4 rounds actually, shortlisting and then 3 interview rounds. So in all rounds, mostly I was asked about what can be my contributions to the department, being from a different background, what kind of contributions I can make into human-centered design. So that we have to be very clear, what kind of courses I will be able to teach. That is important actually. Suppose for that I could answer that I have studied lots of courses from computer science and industrial engineering and mechanical engineering. So some of the content of those courses were similar to the curriculum of triple IT, especially human-centered design. So at least I have some idea about those topics. I am aware of those topics. Like some courses involve the knowledge of Arduino programming and developing some interactive devices which requires electronics knowledge and computer science. So that's how you have to be clear actually. During the interview, you should know that what kind of courses you can teach. And another thing is research. So you can also elaborate what kind of research you can conduct here, how your research can be impactful into the department. So these were all the aspects necessary in the interview procedure.
Okay, and now in current position, are you still continuing the work of virtual reality or?
Yes, of course.
Of course. So
yeah,
that's
actually,
nice
I'm
to
very
hear.
much interested in that topic, but I have made it a little bit more vast. It's not simply extended reality. I call it emerging technology. So the name of my lab is also emerging technology integrated design and manufacturing. So here I'm actually also including all the emerging technologies like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, extended reality, haptic technology, all these emerging technologies I'm actually involving in my research. Some of my students are working on digital twin, if you're aware of this term.
And
So,
not much of these sorts of work are going in academics, right? Maybe some people are doing, but that is very few. So in that way, I feel there are a lot of amount of opportunities waiting for you, ma'am.
yeah, maybe, but currently I'm very happy with this current job. The work culture is very, very nice in IIIT. Like there is no hierarchy in the department, not just in entire institute actually. And there is lots of freedom for interdisciplinary research. Interdisciplinary research is mainly encouraged a lot. And we can get students from all the departments. It's not necessary that I'm from human-centered design that I will be getting students from this department only. I get students from other departments also. Like this is a regular thing. That is a mandatory thing. Like in the independent project, the name IP, they call it. So that is mandatory for the students. So they have to do some research under a professor for 6 months. So yeah, that's how the research becomes very compulsory here.
Yeah, I think so. By this now, we have almost reached the conclusion of our episode. So I'd like to thank a sincere thank you to Dr. Kalpana Shankwar for illuminating the nuances of research in Taiwan and its like tie-ups to India. And I'm sure that her insights have provided invaluable guidance for research aspirants who wish to pursue research in Taiwan. So once again, thank you for being a part of this podcast. And of course, listeners, stay curious and be well informed because we have more guests coming with a lot of different perspectives as well. Thank you.